This video will be about finding critical values in a student t-distribution on the calculator. Critical values are used in hypothesis testing to determine the number of standard errors needed so that the size of our margin of error corresponds to our confidence level. The student t-distribution is used when we estimate our mean and when the standard deviation is not known. To find the confidence interval, CI, for the mean when the standard deviation is not known, we use the formula x bar plus or minus our t-critical times the sample standard deviation divided by the square root of the sample size. And our t-critical is dependent on the degrees of freedom, remembering that the degrees of freedom are found by taking your sample size and subtracting 1. For our first example, we're going to find our t-critical for a 90% confidence interval if our sample size is 3. So we're going to draw a picture to represent this. So 90% confidence interval means that the 90% is going to fall in the middle, which is going to leave 5% for the right and 5% for the left. Now when we use our calculator, the command is INVT, and the things that we will need to input will be the percent that is below and your degrees of freedom. So for this problem, the percent below will be this area right here, that is 95. So we will use INVT 0.95. Our sample size is 3, so our degrees of freedom will be 2. Okay, we'll pull up our calculator, go to the distribution menu. Choose number 4. Okay, the area to the left is going to be 0.95. Our degrees of freedom will be 2. And we end up with our t-critical at 2.92. Okay, let's look at our second example. Okay, the second example, we are asked to find the t-critical if the confidence interval is 80% and our sample size is 11. So when we draw our diagram again, we can see that 80% falls in the middle. That leaves 10% to the right and 10% to the left. The area below is 90% and our degrees of freedom are 10. We pull up the calculator and go back to the distribution menu. Choose number 4 again. Okay, this time the area below is going to be 90%. Our degrees of freedom will be 10. And we end up with a critical t-value of 1.372. I have one more example. This is your turn. We want to find the t-critical for a 90% confidence interval with a sample size of 6. Again, draw the picture first, pause the video, and see what you get. All right, so your drawing should have been 90% in the middle, 5% to the right, 5% to the left, and degrees of freedom 5. When you type that into the calculator using the inverse t function, you should have gotten 2.015. And that's it.